Welcome back. WeArEuS, and I can be your Huckleberry. Now, today's episode will likely be the last, regardless of whether or not I can actually find something else to do a proper playthrough on. Because this will be the last advanced class, at least that I'm aware of. And I don't want to actually spend in any meaningful way. Well, I don't want to do any meta progression that'll have a meaningful effect on our overall performance, because then I won't get the proper sense of how the Primalist works or feels. Because if I upgrade the skills for it, then, well, of course, it's going to feel better with higher level skills. If I upgrade my equipment, well, then my equipment's carrying and not the skills. So it's awkward and it's tough, and we will do our best. Okay? I do want to upgrade the axe. The axe has been super fun. I want to switch to the maul, but honestly, it'll be hard to get a sense of the advanced class's performance if I change anything. Because remember, the entire point is to compare it against the other options. Pretty sure we ran both of those other missions, so not you. Okay, so what do we take? Should we go with shock totems to start with? I do have gloves that would work for this. Let me go pull those out. Oh, that's a passive. There's no real point in that then. Wait. If it changes, yeah. We need to pull the. I'm pretty sure. No, it's. No, I. Okay, so I'm almost certain that the gloves I'm thinking about I did not actually get ever. These are toxic, yeah. Knew that much. Oh, man. Okay, that's fine. I know I've got purples in our inventory right now, but I don't think either of them really have a place at... Wait, I think the helmet does have cooldown on it. Yeah. Yeah, overall that's just better. So let me actually go and put... Spell power has to be valuable for the skills, because obviously I need to put the helmet on. Thirsty for life leech against bleeding enemies. Well, it does. Those gloves do reduced spell costs. I love my reduced spell cost. That's right, the helmet. I spaced. I was wondering if I had any new affixes, and I'm pretty sure I picked up something. But I have nothing for helmets. Got it. Okay, Astute gives us extra mana. But what we actually want... I mean, the regen is... Well, when combined with the passive bonus... Is it regen or... gain? The bonus mana gain we get from the combo mode. Okay. Okay, which one of these do we take? Because this is going to be a full run, it's most likely that we'll be able to get our entire build online before long. It's just a matter of what comes up when it's time to choose the augments. Heck. Well, we are doing New Game +2 as well, so we might actually get to see the value of the shock totem, so I guess I'll run that. What are we running here? As opposed to what other drink? The True Strike has value. It really does. And we have no evasion. Well, that should allow us to hit literally anyone, even those with evasion, which will be good. Really good, in fact. There are some really good drinks in here, too. Like the crit chance one, especially now that we have the gloves. Well, I need to test out those gloves before I can actually see if they're going to be that good or not. But for the most part, yeah. Okay, Architect for Far Sight, and then we can go. Wait, make sure it's New Game +2. Now, with it being New Game +2, there's a very good chance we don't actually make it very far. Which, I mean, if that ends up being the case, I'm not going to lay the blame at the foot of the advanced class. It's just going to be New Game Plus was too much, and we shouldn't have done it. Over here, buddy. There you go. That's pretty good. Oh, and then the lightning strikes apparently seek to actively dick anything in the immediate area. Let's see. Ooh. Just make sure we're getting all of the chests. You'll never meet another who likes to touch chests as much as I do. And we're back to full health because beasts drop very nice healing items. I can drop 3 totems at max currently. I'm actually really impressed with the overall damage those things are capable of putting out. Let's go up there. Oh, we were going the wrong way anyway, so it all turns out fine. And once enemies start getting thick enough to withstand the damage from the totems, I just spin on them. Now, there's definitely a cooldown before you can actually resummon the next totem. Good lord. Okay, sure, whatever. And then depending on how I form them, I might be able to get good DPS in an AoE, or I can literally just form a conga line of self-destruction and then lure my enemies to their doom. Hold that. Let's see. Armor pen. That's definitely the war cry. The sooner we get that... Right, I forgot we have that. Surely this won't be affected by the... No, that's weapon speed that it increases. So it's specifically not going to affect abilities. Hunter's travel rations. I'm pretty sure that's the one that increases resource drops. Which is not great. I'd much rather... Well, what resources exactly? Oh, that's increased damage against beasts. I don't imagine that includes the insects or spiders, even though we don't naturally run into spiders in this particular mission. Yeah, there is like a 1.5 seconds lockout before you can drop the next totem. And I get why. I shouldn't have bothered to pick that up. I get why there's a lockout between the next recast of it, because it would be way too easy to get into a position where you've got a bunch of enemy effects going on all over the place, and you are trying to desperately spam this thing out in order to get your damage going. And if they had no lockout, you'd literally just be burning 28 mana every time you hit the button, without any of it making a single bit of difference, because they're all being dropped right on top of you in a very limited area because you're panicking. So I just tried it there. You also cannot hot drop a, you can't hot drop a totem while in the middle of a channeled skill. Seems like a bit of a missed opportunity, but I understand that there needs to be some balance. Because if you could do other things, cast abilities mainly, okay, sure, whatever, while channeling an attack or another skill, that's a bit too good, right? Especially with how much hard carrying the spin has done. Less damage, not particularly relevant. Ooh. That's not great. I accidentally double tapped the A button, so now we have increased crit damage while not having any crit. Toxic dust increases your poison damage and decreases some of your health. That's acceptable. I see that being very good for the poison rogue. Weakness. Ooh. I'd rather have the ice one. At least that would be interesting. Ooh, but I would much rather have the Dauntless augment, so we take that. And again, to reiterate, yeah, I know running New Game +2 is probably not the smartest thing, considering I don't know where the current limits of our ability lie, or our damage output. There we go, get in there. Our damage output and overall survivability stand in relation to this increased difficulty, but I'm not afraid. So the totems could reach a point where you literally don't even have to actively attack the enemy anymore. You could run around with, say, a stat stick and something to provide defensive potential, such as the shield and this dagger. And then say they have bonus spell power on them. That'd be pretty good. See, this might actually be pretty good. If you can stun the enemy or just, well, with this you'd be able to equip the shield, which would be a guaranteed stun. It doesn't work against bosses, but that's beside the point. Against tougher mobs, you could stun them and then just be able to crit them with your skills, maybe? Let's actually see. So, the bird that looks more like an insect, honestly. Ooh. I keep trying to go up here for some reason. I also have to remember I need to look out for... Ooh, it goes through walls. Nice. Totems periodically shock nearby enemies, dealing lightning damage. Spoiler alert, they already do that. Oh, that's because this is the thing that... Okay, so yeah, it also makes them attack nearby enemies with lightning. Somehow that didn't register when I read it. What was it? 2 episodes ago. Ah, well. I don't want that one, so I guess we'll go with that for extra damage on it. Now they're just playing better. Hold on, I see you there. It doesn't care for that. It doesn't care to break the walls. Got it. Guess I'll have that fun all to myself. Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah. You know what? I'm really liking not having to basic attack enemies. Granted, it's not like the way I'm playing this is a whole lot safer or anything. But it feels different, and I like that. Wicked hooks. Vitarium. Spell crits inflict a stack of bleeding. Ooh, we can actually do that now. Yeah. Okay. So we have the entire bleed set, and now when our spells and weapon attacks crit, we inflict stacks of bleeding. I can actually... Well, the way things stand right now... I forgot to change the other stat on this. Oh. No, yeah, okay. Other than the mana regen and reduced cost... Okay, these gloves are doing a lot. But I still want to test the healing from the bleed. The only problem is we don't really have dependable crit rate. I guess we can still try it. If we stun them, we get a 75% crit chance. Unless I'm... I might be mistaken in how the 75% crit chance is being applied. It might be based on the weapon itself. I want the girdle. Where? Over here. I'm full health again. I think these gloves are okay. we were down what, about 15 to 20% HP by 20 to 50 or 15 to 20% HP, and then it just stopped mattering. Now, yes, unless I can crit naturally against bosses, this doesn't work. But in the meantime, so it feels pretty good just being cast without you actually attacking enemies. Of course, this is still really early, so the enemies are kind of squishy. No, we don't get evasion from anything, but I wouldn't mind the extra movement speed from the set. Ooh, the spider web will be even better. It'll make it harder for enemies to get out. Shocking Ritual Kree. I think it's Kree anyway. I've never seen one before, but I guess we'll take it. It should be worth a decent amount. If it nets us about 1,400 gold, it's probably worth it, right? Should have more gold for this. this, right? Like I said, I want the girdle. Oh, we can get another one, right? No, we don't need iron. We need stone more than anything. So, ooh, this would be good since we're going to get the... Because we're going to get, well, at least I'm hoping to go for the ice-based passive for the Primalist skill, or the Primalist advanced class. Yeah, okay. Sure. Remember, don't name your children after jewels. They'll become strippers. Just a little public service announcement. Hey, look at that. Hallowed bone. Yet another one I've never seen before. Boss is the totem, which is going to be very, very interesting. And should we just take the... Yeah, I don't care for any of these. We'll reroll. Extra healing. Small explosion. Yeah. Oh, frick. I messed up. I should have grabbed the healing. But it's probably fine. Oh. Minions. Probably won't see any ill effects from that very short-sighted choice we've just made. Definitely not. I also didn't use any potions, so I didn't need to go back to the pool to restore the charges. It's a lightning totem, which is fine. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I might have been right about the Primalist. Granted, this is only New Game Plus 2. But I mean, come on. And I didn't even have to whip out the... Really? Surely not. And I didn't even have to whip out the axe or anything. I thought, maybe I'll have to spin to win. No. No. Which is fine. Now, if I did use the axe... Now, yes, I remember. Don't think I've forgotten what I said about switching weapons, changing the performance of the advanced class itself. with this being New Game Plus 2, I'm taking what I see at face value in terms of performance. I'm just assuming if I can burn down enemies, mobs, naturally, not bosses yet, but if I can just burn down normal mobs just by dropping 2 or 3 totems with the lightning augment on them, class is pretty good. The Shield of Thorns, none of these matter. I mean, it's nice that they're higher level and there's at least one blue, but I'm going to need these to be purple for any of them to actually matter. I'll take this because blue is just going to be more valuable when sold. Let me actually switch to the axe really quickly. Inflict enemies with weakness. Increasing the chance wouldn't hurt at all. And since we have Truth Strike, we just hit all the enemies guaranteed. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to like the Primalist. I did this already. I want the War Drums, though. The War Drums trinket, so we can... you guys may as well just follow me. Oh, right, that guy summons extras. Come on. Come on. I just healed so much damage back from the... We just ended up picking up something from the... some sort of food item one of the wolves dropped. So... you know, that sucks, but what can you do? More XP. Now, if I could get reduced MP costs, or not MP, reduced mana cost on these gloves, because when I had those gloves, using these cost next to nothing. I mean, of course, there was probably also the combo mode being in place. Honestly, spin to win is not the best option for this particular advanced class because, as I said, and I've pointed out repeatedly, the channeling for the weapon's alternate attack gets interrupted, and I hate that. The kleptomaniac bird is doing maniac things, weapon right. We'll go with them all. increase damage with melee skills. I don't know if the totems count as melee. I'd have to check. Ooh. Yeah. We're going with the CC totems. Right. I need to see if the totems count as melee skills. So that only affects your weapon skills. I mean, the rogue is probably the only one that actually has a skill that deals melee damage. So, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I went for the ice augment for the turrets anyway. Oh, by the way, that basically means now we have... There we go. That means now we have the trinket that spits spiderwebs at enemies, causing them to be crippled. We have the totems inflicting ice damage, well, dealing ice damage, which inflicts slow, with the occasional freeze. Also, this hammer is not as good as I thought it would be. I think the axe is still just better. Oh, right, because of the vulnerability. Yeah. Yeah, I see that. So I'd have to set up shop first. Oh, I can't do that. Hey there, little buddy. 79 wood. More damage. That's beautiful, a headhunter contract. Lose stone for weapon crit chance, which is just good. Or, you know what? I'm trading it out. I need that stone. Now you may or may not be wondering, why am I investing in further resources for meta progression when I don't intend to continue the game? It's just what I do. I know I'm not going to be playing it after we're done with the Primalist Showcase, but that's not going to stop me from getting every single shred of loot that I can possibly get. I noticed that the minions are dead, by the way. No idea when that happened. I'm sure they will be missed by someone. Get melted. There is no good term for doing quick, severe damage to a target with ice elements, or with the ice element. There's fire references, technically references for lightning, but nothing for ice. Nothing I can think of, anyway. Yeah, we'll go for the weapon power. You're a trader. Get more stone. You're not getting that out of me, but no. I could get used to this kind of power. In the meantime, melee weapon hits gain a 6 crit chance. That just works for everything. This seems fair. We'll go this way. No, we're not done. I thought I didn't notice this part down here, which is, frick, rather significant, actually. trying to get a sense of how much bleed damage that's actually inflicting. Grand Fire Staff. Whatever. I was not paying attention. And I died like an idiot for it.
Today we're doing Shiku. Shiku, I do believe a lot of people are missing one behind her. She is an incredible damage dealer, and her addition to the party lineup, yes, she is Cosmos, but I think that she is a possible for several reasons. We'll go into it. But before that, I would like to give a shout out to our sponsor, and that is LG Shop. LG Shop is their top of time. Right now, if you need copies or you're buy her in a limited time offer Shinku bundle, which is all 9 tools that you put in case you have a market. The best part is Self Top Up is now live. Self Top Up is you ordering stuff under their interface. And if you spend over $80, you actually get a free monthly card. 39% off the you can start buying in the description of this video for LD Shop. Never LD Shop where you can create an account. Just click the login button, sign up with a Google account or a little mail line, click on the product you buy, your payment details, you'll see the coupons available to you. Actual savings, you'll also see my community coupon or the discounts. And after you click on payment and payment is successful, you'll have two options: self-top up and login top up. The self-top up is usually login top up is the login to your account. We'll choose self-top up. Guide on that step 1, you'll see where it says not to decide anything with your server. You'll decide it with email. Click start, phone icon. Go from there. Click the card. Confirm redemption. And it's that. First, if you're wondering if you have to have any Shiku's dupes to utilize her correctly, no, you don't. That is a sort of misconception derived from these stacks here, and these stacks are a large reason as to why Shiku's been misinterpreted, I guess, and I'll go into that. Shiku is a main damage in DPS. She is going to have a lot of time as far as everybody else is compared to your party, so you don't really want to have conflicting party members with her, like Chaos. Yes, you can put her in the Chaos team. It is good, but she's just going to conflict with time for Chaos, so you just don't need to do that. She is a condensate damage type arc. The condensates currently are Arc, Shiku, and Bison. The arc that you get from the arc shop is going to be her best arc because it gives her a 32% increase on the cosmos damage, as well as increasing her attack by 20% and ignoring 12% of the state. If you're interested in how defense works, I have a video on that as well. And the best alternative that's obtainable is going to be A Time Will Come. This one is the best alternative because of the crit rate increase. She's going to need a crit rate mark regardless, so A Time Will Come is basically required if you're trying to max Shiku's output and you don't have her signature gene. You can also use the blush arcs if you wish, but just make sure that you're getting an arc with crit rate that is the As far as her cartridge and modules, on cartridge you actually do want a main stat crit rate. The reason you want a main stat crit rate is because she maxes out at low end on the crit around 60% without the console. She gets a big boost from crit damage from her module type instead of crit rate, like all of the anima characters. The crit rate is actually going to be important on the main stat. As far as the module setups, you are going to need crit rate and crit damage on every module, and then it just try to get attack bonus, and universal damage bonus, any combination of those three. After you prioritize crit damage, and you absolutely have to have crit rate on every module type. So if you're using leftover modules, just make sure they all have crit rate. Your best setup is going to be Cosmos damage. You can actually try some other stuff with some of the other ones. Because of the 10% buff, as well as the ignores 25% of the enemy's defense stacked with her original 12% defense, it's going to be hard to acquire another setup, even if you're using Fireflies in the Forest with extra critical hit damage, just because of that nature. Yes, Fireflies in the Forest is effective on all characters, not with anima characters, as long as you have an anima character in your team to produce the stacks necessary. You will actually want the Menacing Gaze Sunset Beach Awakening effect if you get her awakening first. This will, however, change her combat setup, and every time you get 8 stacks, which will be every 9 seconds, you'll have to swap into her to do an attack, and those 9 seconds will burn the Menacing Gaze out, and then if you have that, the second is going to be the Snowfall Slope. That will give you the 16 stacks, which is absolutely insane damage. That's going to be about the same amount of damage as a Rimmer Bomb, but it will take 17 to 19 seconds to acquire that. So that's a long time, and you might actually swap to her before the 16 stacks even can. The Dragon's Treasure is actually going to be the best one if you're not trying to set up now, or you don't plan for more than a 1. Dragon's Treasure is going to just give you the most amount of damage output while you're fighting her, and that's just going to be a lot of damage. So if you're only pulling 1 copy, I would recommend the Dragon's Treasure. If you're pulling 2 copies, it gets Sunset Beach and the Snowfall Slope. Although that changes her entire and that won't change her combat style or anything like that. But those 3 are just going to do the absolute most. And then I do believe the A3 version of Shinku is workable for sure. And if you would get the A6, all this really does is let you get to that 100% crit rate cap. It doesn't increase your damage output an insane amount for getting A6. A3 is a big difference. So if you're interested, A3 would be definitely worth it if you're into both copies. It's extremely free, so I'm going to dumb down her Esper ability and do a major 200. Defiant Spirit is a power-up. I'll go to Defiant Spirit with her attack. Defiant Spirit is just energy that you get out of Crimson Fury with her infant surging and Crimson Stain. This is just you being in her ult. You only have a limited amount of time in this ult to dump all her damage out, so just try to dump all her damage out here. And the Menacing Gaze are the red stacks. The red stacks without a dupe go into 8, and you multiply the damage of the first stack versus the last stack by 5. So if you get all 8 stacks, you're doing 5 times the amount of damage as getting 1 stack. Currently, I believe her best team is going to be this setup. So you start with 8 stacks. Every 2 seconds, you gain a stack if you don't attack. If you do attack, you expend the stacks. So you'll see 2 numbers pop up when I hit. The big number is the Menacing Gaze damage. And then that 8,600 is the 1 stack charge. So the reason that a lot of people are misinterpreting what this is for, this is not actually just max stacks and do max damage up. Yes, they put that into our awakening kit for if you're going to pull things, the tubes are just going to be working. But what really it is on base level, the reason behind that is so that you get a payoff for having to dodge the character all the time. Whenever I'm at a stack and I have to dodge, I get another stack in the dodge. So all of the times that you're sitting here waiting for an opportunity, that's just rewarding you for sitting there waiting for the opportunity. That's the purpose of those Menacing Gaze stacks. You don't have to do 30 seconds worth of hyperland travel ability right here, this is one of the few ones that's actually worth it to use in combat. It does burn stamina, but it also allows you to go across the entire field when the enemy is just being a dickhead. Let's take the wonderful Mama, for example. You know how Mama likes to run all the way across the map to just antagonize you? While you're running across the map, Menacing Gaze stacks, which is just free damage output. See? And because I'm inside, it's more beneficial for me to wait for the enemy to hit me, to go ahead and get my stacks. A lot of people are going to sit here and button mash as much as possible, but you're actually going to lose damage because you're doing that. Why she's so misunderstood is right here in this fight. A lot of people are going to just mash the attack button to get to the amount of... Yeah, but they're going to lose damage doing this. If they just wait for 2 seconds, they get 7 more attacks out of their attack cycle. And they also get a lot of charge energy whenever they critical riposte. So I'll burn her charge. This is how fast it charges normally. And if I have stacks, that's how much extra energy you get. So if you're patient in combat, don't just wait and do nothing, obviously. You will gain charge energy for your cycle way more if you I think she will have a because of this, and those runs are going to go absolutely insane. Because you have to attack and attack, and then in the 1 to 3 second window that you need to wait for the next attack to get a critical riposte or extra stacks out of that, that's when you're going to need to use her. People aren't using her like that. They're just going and mashing the attack button because that's what we've always done in every character in every gacha game. So the full cycle for the team. But here we're going to start with an ult on Shinku. Use your redirect when you have it. It'll glow and you get energy for it when you attack and you riposte. Mash Y whenever the Y dragon thing pops up, so you can just spam the dragon attack. Then you'll go into Nanoi, use her ult and her redirect. You'll go into the main character. It doesn't actually matter here if you're getting the charge blossom buff from Nanoi to the main character or not. And then you want to go to Julian, and then you want to swap it immediately. After you're done with Hathor, I said Julian, that is to get to the ultimate energy gain, so that you can immediately go into the ult with Shinku. You don't want to run around in circles like I did. I'm just showing you the and then spam the line when you have it. Now, I don't have full charge energy, so I'm going to try to develop a cycle. Let me go back into Donnelly to continue the charge cycle. Dump her ult as fast as possible, and don't use her stacks here because the charge timer's running, and you want that charge to get ult energy to Shinku. And this is just a constant rotation of trying to get the Shinku per ultimate as quickly as humanly possible. And if you're all A0, this is the best way to do it. If you have duplicates, her rotation and some of her needs change. Proc charge, and we don't want to spend Hathor stacks if we're in the charge state. And we're already back into the Shinku ult. that rotation was a little sloppy. Everyone is A0 on my team, and I only have one level 80 character. If I had multiple copies, some people don't also have their arc. This is just showcasing you how good Shinku is without killing the boss in 30 seconds, right? And then that's essentially the full cycle rotation for Shinku in this team. You can actually start a running character for Shinku and put a buffer and just try to get charge proc with Shinku since she can cycle around so fast. I'm going to lose damage or netting the same amount of damage. So I would say this, you can also replace not only the 2 yen for a little bit of the damage loss if you just don't have a not only, it's not that big of a deal. And then this opens up the entire second team for all the buffers and Lacrimosa, if you would Lacrimosa. Is Shinku an absolute must play? I would say yes, and that's because whenever Eroi comes out, I'll redo Shinku's team with Eroi, because she's obviously going to replace Nonoli, since Nonoli comes in, ults, and then ult first, and then that's where her damage goes. I don't know when we'll need 3 teams, but I'm looking forward to the 3-team day. And then if you want extra DPS, you can always get the bodysuit. I've been told it adds to the damage that your character does, although I haven't figured it out yet. Anyway, that is Shinku. I do a lot of stuff live for Halo and some other games that you're interested in. Comments. If you're wavering, I do recommend a third-party couple sites to save some money. And of course, if you are getting dupes in A1 or A3, I wouldn't recommend stopping at 2, but if you're going to stop at 2, it's okay. It's not a big deal. You're already doing way more damage than you need to in this game. Have a sick day and peace out. As many blossoms as possible. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll go back into Eroi and turn everyone into sheeps. Greetings, everyone. Eroi is a new character to pull, very good to support, and she can be a solo DPS. I'll go into both builds, and of course, if you plan to pull dupes or you just need money to you can get mad discounts from our spots, and that is LD Shop. LD Shop is a third-party commerce site. Right now, if you copy or you buy her, you can get a limited time offer bundle, which is all $90. If you have the hard fitting. The best part is self-top-up is now live. Self-top-up is you ordering stuff on your very interface. And if you spend over $80, you actually get a free monthly card. 39% off the NTE buttons. You can start by clicking the link in the description of this video for LD Shop Never. It will take you to LD Shop where you can create an account with other payment details to see what's available to you, including the one newcomer, extra savings. You'll also see my community coupon, program discounts, self-top-up visit to the guide, start, full icon, go from there, go to the heart, herself. The wrong game it for her arm currently on the banner. It increases the wearer's anima damage dealt by 30% after healing. This makes the solo DPS output required for this arm because that's a lot of extra damage. And then the extra 15%, it's not actually 15% more damage to your allies. Inside of the game, there is this bucket of universal damage. That 15% gets added into this bucket. The maximum damage increase that you can get for all arms is 20%, and then if you add that on to the console rolling on universal damage, that's an extra 10%. So this puts at 30%, and if you put 15% on top of this, you walk with 145% universal damage bonus for the main DPS out. This means that you'll get total 8.9% damage increase, or 9% if you're rounding up. Full damage increase from the actual damage output. Yes, is pulling our arm worth 9% more damage? Not if you are a free-to-play player. So if you don't plan to use damage losses you're running and you are a free-to-play player, I don't recommend pulling her arm. Good alternatives for her arm are honestly any of the stuff. It doesn't actually matter whichever one you put. I do one that focuses on break. Fierce guys will increase her damage output most. Then you have Mind Morale, which is going to give her more ultimate energy, which you kind of don't need if you're putting her in a charge team. And then Shiny Days will increase her crit intensity. If you're not using her main class, aren't actually matter all that much, simply because you will most likely be using her in solo DPS which is not going to be her. She's going to redirect and swap out GTF. Now with her arc out of the way, let's go into her console. For a solo DPS, it is no surprise that Fireflies and Force is going to give you the highest damage output, provided that you build for crit. I do highly recommend building a critical crit rate on the main stat of Fireflies and Force for everyone's solo DPS output. Crit rate on the main stat and the substats get simply because she does not get a lot of crit rate. In fact, that's all coming from cycle intensity. You'll definitely want the cycle intensity. That will give you more damage than the attack will because of her secondary skills, which will as the cycle. For the modules, you will rather test the same thing: crit rate, crit damage, universal damage, and cycle intensity. For her non-solo DPS, we're not even going to worry about crit rate because you're just not going to be able to get enough crit rate to have a good crit damage build. So you're going to want cycle intensity on main stats, break intensity, and cycle intensity on the substats. After that, universal damage and attack will net you the highest damage output. But honestly, don't really worry about that. Get one with cycle intensity and then break intensity on the secondary stats you've already won. And then for support modules, you'll want to prioritize cycle intensity, break intensity, damage increase, and then attack increase. The attack percentage does more than attack raw stat, but really, if you get cycle rate, a 300 cycle intensity will net you a total of a 50% increase on your cycle output. Now, the way the cycle works is that the highest cycle intensity out of the pair gets to use cycle. So if I'm going from Shinku, which will be my main damage dealer, into Heroi, I will use the cycle output on the highest of the two, which in this case would be Heroi, so I'll get a 50% increase on my cycle damage or the velocity that pops out. Now that her console and arm are done, I will go into her Esper abilities. Her Esper abilities are super complicated and based off of a bar called Imagination. Imagination is the bar around the top of her vision. This bar right here, this little line marks the basic attack daydream, and the large hit marks the you this on her support build. Or if you have someone that is the solo damage output, you can use the bar. Now, any ally that dies in a regression phase is just turning your allies into sheep at the top with the heart on the eye, the sheep in the middle with the horns, and the sheep below with the goggles around their head. Now, it is important to note, while the sheep are there, they possess all of the attributes of the characters. So the one on the bottom is actually going to be the main character. But then, if I activate her cycle, because she's a cosmic character, you'll see that Blossom she created, and then the two duplicates of the Blossom. So MORPHEUS and they each give their own respective damage increase. So I recommend putting your solo DPS unit where the Nicholas is, just in case your solo DPS output becomes kaput, you'll have. But it really doesn't matter that much. As far as the description of imagination, this is your bar. In the regression team, it will tell you which each one of your sheep does. Now, the Phantasos, Nicholas, and MORPHEUS, they just do damage. This is basically responsible for the solo DPS unit inside of her solo DPS build. Now, all of the lambs have the same support skill ratio. The support skill is basically the cycle skill that we used with EMC earlier, so it doesn't really matter where you put console ability of your team inside of the Blossom build. The Blossom build is what I'm using right now. Basically, the way it functions is that you'll have 3 anima characters with different life skills all based around the actual Blossom itself. So you stack the Blossom abilities, and Juyen is basically required because of the Juyen's life skill that lets you have more Blossoms on the field. And then not only gives you more Vita-Buzz, and then Heroy duplicates the Blossoms. And then, of course, you need a Cosmos character, which you actually don't need to learn your use of the main character in this output. This only gives you 1 more Blossom that you don't actually need. You can use any of the characters for Cosmos. So if you're not using these, you can actually just learn it in this. And this can end up being one of the characters that you just don't use. And then for your other team, you can use whoever you want while still being able to utilize the main character cycle. So here, we're just going to Rocket City Boss. Get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll go back into Roy and turn everyone into sheets. And you want to prioritize dodging to be able to get the Blossom skills back. That's relevant when you're at the bar. And if you have enough imagination, you can do this with the character while holding basic attack. She'll adjust. It's right here. This actually is damage. But being able to redirect and dodge while you're inside of that is actually better, in my opinion. That is how you use her as a solo DPS unit. And that is when you would want to build her for crit rate, crit damage, universal damage percentage, and cycle intensity. The cycle intensity is super important because all of those Blossoms need cycle intensity on them to increase their damage output by 50%. Now, the future self-continuity, this is what you use to hold and turn your entire team into, and it creates dreamlike illusions during the battle, which it just makes it fancy. But the 3 allies go into the regression state, making them one of the 3 sheeps, and they assist in battle using stats of their role. Now, as far as ultimate, there are 2 ultimates. There is the return to the first dream, which is casting her without enough imagination, and then it's just continuously using all allies. This will extend it past a certain amount of time for you in order to get the healing buff on her arm. But in my opinion, you can just ult and go on to the next one if she isn't a main DPS. If she is a main DPS, you want to build enough imagination to cast Dream of the Ivory Gate to deal anima damage to all enemies 3. And this is how you get 5 that have fallen inside the regression stage. Which you only find on one character to 3, which means you have to hold 3 times in order to revive a character, which is intensive. So it's largely pointless in that regard. And after the ult ends, they return to the regression stage regardless. So it's a temporary revival. However, it does do a damage over time ratio of 34% for the remainder of the dream. So it lasts as long as within the dream, which makes her a viable candidate as part of a Lacrimosa DPS team, which is just a viable team if you don't have Shinku. Now we'll go into a team rotation. Every time someone does die, you can build up an imagination, but as I said, if someone's dying, you're probably resetting whatever you're doing anyway, because that's just how it's going to work. However, if you find yourself lacking a skill in the game, I do believe solo DPS Roy is the easiest way to play the game, because you can just cycle everybody, turn into a Roy, and button mash the X button. Simple. For her team build, you are going to want a Roy. The main character is basically required here simply because of hot swapping. Hathor or Chaos if you don't have Hathor, or Skia if you don't have either of those. Hathor is just going to be the best in slot because she has the highest ult burst DPS out of any of the characters in the game. And then Shinku or Lacrimosa. If you don't have either of these, you can use whatever party member does the amount of most damage for you during an ultimate, because this team is a charge team to pass a power baton to the final character. Tori is also applicable in here, and if you do use Tori, what you actually want to do is charge up Hathor and dump Hathor's ult, and after Hathor's ult, then you want to go to Tori and use Tori's ult, and you're essentially double ult hot swap. Here we start with Shinku, we ult with Shinku. And then we're going to use our cycle energy that we built on Shinku and swap into a Roy. When we go to a Roy, we're going to redirect and ult. And then we'll swap it into the main character. We'll swap into Hathor. If you have Hathor dupes, get her max feathers, use her ult, but don't spin the feathers, and then go back into Shinku. And then while Shinku is ulting with her charge, ult whenever you have Shinku. And this is essentially this team's damage rotation, and you want to dump all of your best modules into Shinku. And just repeat the process until the enemy's dead. You get to button mash with Shinku here, so this is also a relatively low threat combat rotation as far as Shinku goes. You can, be a sweat with Shinku's rotation, but that's another video. As far as her support skills, absolutely make sure you level up the mirror image. And in her combat rotation, make sure that your solo DPS unit is swapping into a Roy with maximum charge intensity. It is better to use a Cosmos solo DPS because Cosmos into Anima gives you a loss of effect. Otherwise, your fourth person can actually be, and that's pretty much it as far as the Roy is concerned. Remember, if you are on the fence about pulling her arc, you only have to pull her arc if you're trying to solo DPS with her. If you are trying to solo DPS with her, it's still her best in slot, but you'll be looking at a 9% increase in damage output on a in-game build with your final DPS unit that you're slotting in, such as Shinku or Vaisal or Lacrimosa or anyone that you would be using. The only problem with using a non-combo Cosmos damage as your fourth is that you're not getting the blossom effect from the swap in, and you're not using that cycle. If you don't use that cycle, you're going to have to change your rotation in order to proc charge for your 4th unit. And I digress. I do a lot of stuff on stream. If you're interested, check me out. I'll be doing NTE until I guess I get bored of it in a very long time.
Welcome back. It's taken me a little while to get here. I've been watching, like actively watching stuff on YouTube while getting back here. We aren't the same man we used to be, but we're also not as far from what we were. So, I did a little bit of upgrading. I upgraded the helmet because it had literally no bonuses because I swapped it in fresh. I completely forgot to do that. I upgraded the gloves because, I mean, why not? The only reason I decided to keep the run going is because, one, it's the last one, and two, I mean, if I don't die to something stupid, I just don't die. And since I died to something stupid, why not, right? And so here we are. I am missing some important things. I will take that. Yeah, we can go right from here, and then we'll go clockwise through the rest of the map. I have one piece of the bleed set. It was in another shop just like the last run, but I have not found the other one for the weapon crit damage, weapon crit inflicting bleed. And I mean, it doesn't make that much of a difference, but I would rather have full set effect. Oh, look. Zeal for the crit. I almost died to another one of those. Oh, I forgot the... Hold on. If I get rid of this, I get a bunch of stone. Yeah, we'll take that. On occasion, he has a good deal. We'll go down. So I started off early with the, unlike the last time we went through the forest, I just went through and did the spin in order to get it through that place, and then I realized that we also have beaten the totem boss, so as a result, I took the shortcut because it's the smart move. And I like doing the smart thing every now and then. Also, I've discovered that this weapon, the two-handed axe, inflicts bleed stacks. And on top of that, it's also inflicting vulnerability on occasion. Nice. Nice. But the augment I have is the one that grants bleed, inflicts bleed on spell crits, which is perfect for a little caster like this guy. Now that we've got the combo mode going, we literally just drop a totem and the combos waves do the rest of the work. Because of how the towers, the totems work, I also don't have to spend a lot of time next to the enemy. I can literally drop them and just keep running. Okay, simple. Reflection is never going to be useful, but it's not like we have a choice of what to do with it. I mean, I am going to still try to go for the parry effect from the defensive set. But all I can do is try. None of those are worth it. I mean, while I'm here, right? Apparently, those enemies inflict curse stacks. Shadow curse, I think it's called. which is extremely annoying. Weakness, yeah, or the tremor strikes. I think I was on the way to communicating the idea and then completely forgot. But you can only apply the bleed by doing the normal basic attack of swinging the weapon like that. Whereas the spin does not apply it, which is weird. It really should. It doesn't stop being sharp because you're spinning. So all that means is I need to do the normal attack with this weapon in order to inflict bleed stacks, and then drop a totem, which will then do the damage fast enough to give us rather good healing. Of course, the damage itself isn't particularly great, which is why we should spin, but that requires a singular target, and the ability for them to actually survive what you do to them and not die immediately like these guys. Oh, I also did change the extra buff on the gloves to spell mana regen. "16 stacks and I almost died." Disgusting. Well, there goes a third potion. I am now super glad I picked up the extra 2 charges. Obvious choice. I've been looking at the walls and I'm just not seeing any cracks. I will need to be a little bit more careful as well until I can get a potion, get to somewhere with the pool that restores potion charges. Because I don't want to die again. I really hate getting stuck behind doors when I'm trying to maintain combo. That I think is I don't know why I've been double tapping A this entire time. It's extremely annoying. Hey guys. Yeah, just walk into a group, swing the axe a few times, get enough of them bleeding, spin. I mean, unless they're just going to straight up die anyway, right? I do hate when the pathings are closed off because it's only there to make it take a little longer for you to get to where you need to go. Drums, definitely the drums. nothing. Oh, right, this is the plan. This should be interesting. I forgot I had the healing on that. Okay. Listen, I don't know how much of that turning around was just me having gotten lucky and remembering to get the freaking heal on Warcry, and how much of that was the advanced class itself. No idea, really. Part of it was definitely having the drums. Oh, and okay. So it gets even better. Now, think about it like this. The reason why we were out healing, up until stuff started stacking up, the reason why we were out healing its damage was because we were inflicting bleed with the weapon, getting the bleed stacks. Therefore, the bleeding damage it's also taking from those stacks is, I'm assuming here, of course, I'm assuming you also get the lifesteal on these gloves from that as well. So, you've got the bleed, you've got the tremors from the totems, the lightning from the totems, and because it's large enough, I can hit it with all 3 beams. The basic attacks from the weapon itself, from the axe I'm using, and then if I were to spin to win, it'd just be an increase. At least I would assume so, because the spin doesn't do damage equal to the basic attack. It's slightly lower. Yeah, 75% as opposed to 125. So there might be it seemed like I mean, the damage is definitely lower, but the value of life leech you get might be slightly higher than if you have just the basic attack. And then you increase the basic attack speed with the War Cry. Also, I was forgetting that. Having War Cry active and then also having the weakness effect on the boss probably helped significantly. But, oh frick, I took it off. Oh, and then there's the vulnerability, which I'm assuming acts just like the bleed and can't be applied through the spin, because to someone that makes sense. I mean, the spin itself has its own detriments to where you don't need to make it so that the on-hit effects that are on the weapon wouldn't work with it. Specifically, I'm talking about the spin being a channeled ability or attack that gets interrupted by doing anything. That's a massive downside. So why bother adding on to that by not allowing it to also apply things on hit? Now, I get why they did it. It's because that would be disgusting. For example, the throwing stars here would just keep going, and it would be great. Which is why, one of the reasons why I'm really happy to see them. With the life leech and everything else that goes on with that, this is going to be so good for life leech. But we're going to need... we got so lucky with the... I thought I was dead, and then I remembered, right, I think I have healing on my War Cry. Here, hold one of these, buddy. Oh, right, and we also have the 18 stacks of the Shadow Curse as well. Stun me, will you? If I could only get the bleed on weapon crits, then we would finally be online as far as having life leech activated by anything we're doing, regardless of who the target is. And I'm super glad that we also have the augment that gives us stacks versus... Oh, imagine get any shadow curse here, but I'll leave them for now. The augment that lets us stack against any enemy. I heard a wall open up there. Oh, so we were working with the 20%, which makes sense based on how much we were healing. How much of this do you think is actually the spin to win just being really good? And basically carrying the class, and frankly all of them, really, that we've used. No idea why these guys left this other room here when I can't actually hit them from where I was. Probably fine. Oh, the bird thing took it. God, that feels good. I will say the only thing that really annoys me is that there aren't different levels to run. These guys are taking massive damage because they're basically... I'm standing inside of their hitboxes and hitting them with a stack of 20 waves. Combo waves? I'm pretty sure they were called combo waves. I keep forgetting how much more value we get out of the life steal or life leech and everything when we simply just weaken the enemy by casting War Cry. Come on. This isn't good. The Armor Pen, I'm hoping, affects everything we deal damage with. I also have trouble telling when I'm using the freaking spin now that there are so many enemies. So I actually have to look down at my... Hi. I have to actually look down at the skill in order to see. Should be fine. I figured it would probably make more sense to pull the guys out of there so they wouldn't just be able to surround me, and they'd instead have to actually come straight to me. Yeah, for the extra movement speed we get from the set effect. There we go. Easy as can be. would like to take this into the boss fight, but if for no other reason than just to have it. Chaos War would be good. I do need to visit the potion. Recharge first. This should be the 2 skeletons. Then the next one is the snakes, which might be a bit of a problem. Well, not with the totems. We have more. The area we deal damage in is actually going to be larger. Well, I have to say, bolt of lightning. Okay, I have to say that was actually a pretty good showing. We did go down below half health, which is a problem. Let me check to make sure my groceries aren't here. And they are. And there's ice cream in there, so I'm going to go and get that now. Okay. There we go. You know what would be funny? It'd be funny if there was actually more maps and I'm just using, and they were actually located in different locations. Can't cast. There we go. And I mean, the entrances to them were in a different location than the one that led to where we are now. It's entirely possible. Ooh, 30% weapon speed. That would be a very nice upgrade for this guy to have. If this guy can handle the snakes, I think he'll be able to handle pretty much anyone. I see a crack in the wall. Lose some iron, gain... no. Actually? I mean, the crit chance is vital for what we're doing. But extra damage against bosses? No. I must resist. Ooh, frick. I almost died twice. See, some things do trigger off of the spin, which is weird because I'm pretty sure vulnerability doesn't, and I know the bleed doesn't. Crit chance. Yeah. Somehow I missed these guys. Oh, frick. Well, that was a close call. Oh, right, I do have the... Since I did the skip, the tower skip anyway, I got... You didn't have anything I wanted. I got the trinket that lets you silence enemies on occasion. Well, now, since we have no stacks of the Shadow Curse, we can go directly to the next level. I think stage is the better, more accurate term. Deep breaths. Don't forget to stretch, by the way. Oh, just the very idea of that. That'd be... Okay. I can appreciate almost dying there. Right, I forgot, even if I'm silenced, as long as I'm in the middle of the spin, they can't stop it. This would be nice, but more stacks more consistently. Let's go for another heal, and then we'll open this. I really do hate whoever it is that keeps draining my mana. I did not expect... I thought he was going to die way faster than he did. Okay. I am greatly overestimating our damage. And then I do stuff like that, and I'm just wondering, what's the difference here? I know a good part of it is that I keep getting my mana sucked. Nope, you're just not going to be able to do that here, buddy. I die. And I'm spamming. I am spamming the potion button. And it's just not registering. That's what happens when you have a garbage PC. That was not my fault. If it weren't for the frame lag, the frame drops, whichever you'd like to call it, there would have been no issue. There would be no issue. I die way fewer stupid deaths. We also have 200,000 and 205,000 gold, which is great. Cute even. Thank goodness this was sell and not buy, because I was not paying attention. Well, crap. Honestly, again, no, I'm not going to take responsibility for that. I should not have died there. Like I said, I hit the potion button repeatedly, long before my health was as low as... That's frustrating. But I think we can all agree, this build, had we been allowed to continue, would have hard carried against, well, I say not hard carried. The final boss does like to also move quite a bit. But I think we would have been fine. It might have gotten close, a little hairy on occasion, but with the 30% maximum health heal, I think we would have gotten through that no problem. It wouldn't be a fast fight, for sure, but we'd get through it no problem. We do have a map we could run. It depends. If it's a weapon, we'll run it. Okay? How about that? I don't know what that's... What? Often? What? That can literally only be shields. Fine, whatever. What are we running? I'm trying to remember the... Right, totems. This is the bandit keep, right? What is this one? True strike? That's not going to be an issue. Instead, you know what? I would like this, but it requires the heal. And there's no guarantee I'm going to get one, much less the two I need for it to actually be halfway decent. Well, the 2.5% is based on your current health, which is good. It can't kill you, but you will basically die if it gets you low enough. 20% damage increase is just better. With enough crit damage buffs, this would just out damage this, but we have to keep in mind the debuff as a result of the fact that it's connected. This is an instanced map, so I'm actually... No, we're going to do the smart thing. This is an instance map. We only get one shot at this. Tempting. Very tempting, for sure. Okay, I have to keep in mind that there are certain things we have to get. No idea why it would pick up the XP scroll, but this is the spider lair. No, I really wouldn't have changed anything since, again, this is an instance map and I don't want to run the risk of actually... Okay. I just wasted all of my potions because I'm trying to drop a... Oh, we need to go in there. Yes. Shocking zinger. I really wish I had let myself read it first. Ooh, that's convenient.
That skill is not ready. I can't do that yet. That skill is not ready.
Well.
I can't do that yet.
Spell damage, obviously. Hold on.
Secret entrance.
Yeah. Phew. Okay, we have 2 safety nets. What's our level at? We're at level 30. Yes, I saw that apple up there, but that piddly amount of HP is not going to help. Melee weapon. You know what? Sure, why not? I need to upgrade War Cry. I don't remember the name of the augment, but the one that heals us, I need to get one more of those. Just one. At least. And then getting stuff that would let us inflict bleed on the enemy. Becomes more important.
I can't do that yet.
The weakness is good. Ooh, I was about to consider the reroll, and then I remembered that will kill us.
I can't do that yet.
I need to take a shot at getting... I need to take a shot at getting another level in the healing augment. I'll hold off and get that though, because that will help. Good lord. Looks like I need, well, if we were going to keep playing, I would have to take the poison resistance a little more seriously. Instead, though to be fair, we don't really get weapon crits like that, do we? Well, this does not bode well for the boss, does it? I should have swapped to the Tyrant.
I can't do that yet.
I might have to swap off of this to the shield and... what is it? Crap. I have to get the heal.
That skill is not creep.
Take the rent. take up our position. I think I'm underestimating weapon crits for the sake of inflicting bleeding.
I can't do that. That skill is not ready. I can't do that yet. I can't do that yet.
It looks like I accidentally used the potion. I don't remember a case where I would have needed to use it. More weapon power, please and thank you. Should have gone for the 20% poison resistance now that I think about it.
What's behind here? That skill is not ready.
For the life leech, this would be tremendous, but this is probably the smarter move. Assuming that that actually applies 25 to your poison resistance. Definitely the healing.
That skill is not ready. I can't do that.
It was tempting. It was a tempting choice for sure. Hold on. He came around the corner alone and I just swatted it. Feels pretty good, man. Out of here. and small explosion.
I can't do that. That skill is no threat.
Thanks for the free XP. Okay, this... We're not in a great position with our builds. It is... We are going to be desperate. I need to kill something to maintain my stacks. I don't understand. I don't understand how we did it, but we did it. Oh God. I don't. Okay, so we did end up having to use 2 potions. I think one I used sort of accidentally / panicked. I refuse to take it back, I guess. It happened. I didn't die. And that's the most important thing. So, here we have all of the offhand things that the game has to offer. And the first of them is the Fierce Grand Fire Tome. It sets a glyph and it produces an area of flames for 5 seconds. Gives... Okay, so yeah. I remember I've read these before. So basically the only thing new it does is that it gives bonus fire damage and fire penetration before the glyph activates. And it works like that for all of the others of different elements. As for the shield, blocks up to 50 damage from most projectiles in an 80-degree arc. Okay, dash forward to bash enemies with your shield, inflicting greater stun. This has bonus weapon crit damage. I think this counts as a weapon? Yeah, it counts as a weapon, so it gets the bonus from that rather than from spell crit chance. This has 15% chance to parry, which is just more damage mitigation, so that's really good actually. I hate the lightning resistance on it, but overall, pretty good. Ooh, this has a 20% chance to inflict confusion, which causes the enemy to just wander around in every direction but where they want to go. And it also comes with a bonus 25% crit damage. Then we have a Savage Round Shield. Lower strength requirements. Everything else is pretty much the same. I'm fine with that. I didn't realize the guy was level 30 already. And apparently 30 is the max until you clear, I'm assuming, New Game +2. Which we could have done if the game hadn't screwed me. Well, not the game. It wasn't the game's fault. The game seems like it's pretty well optimized. My problems are the result of the PC I'm using, plus all of the stuff I've got going on in the background, but ultimately it's a matter of the computer being the issue. I think the Cruel Heater Shield is the best choice here. I do want these, but not that badly, to be honest. Although, this would probably actually be pretty good. The tomes would probably be pretty good with a character that has to maintain melee range from the target or from their enemies. I don't know why I didn't think about that until now. Again, it'd be really good with the rogue, especially since again this is weapon damage and not spell power, or it's not a spell, therefore it scales with whatever the character's main stat is. I mean, I am assuming greater stun is a slight increase to the stun duration. I'm assuming that's like a maximum of 1 second with a minimum of 0.25 at least. I do want the shield, but at the same time, it's crit chance, but this comes with confusion. Confusion's good. It actually seems to break it breaks their aggro, so they don't even attack, they just wander around, which is really good, especially for ranged characters, but ranged enemies, but I mean, if you're on top of them and they're confused, the confusion really isn't doing much for you. That being said, I think I'm going to take it. I know. It's not optimal. It is, in fact, suboptimal, but I like the idea. So we actually, thanks to actually getting the max level on the healing for WeArEuS Augment, we suffered less. It could have been so much worse. In fact, possibly even resulting in a loss, or just getting completely decimated and then losing the instance map entirely. Hold on, let me... Oh, right, he can't even equip the thing because his intellect is too low, which is understandable. Do we have anything... I don't know why I'm bothering to do this, but here we go. Upgrade the chapels, lose less. Got plenty of stone and rock. think we can upgrade all of this, but probably should do the chapel first. Stop that. The apothecary is just going to come back asking for more. So chapel first. I wonder... No, so not everything has the same maximum level as the guild hall does. Okay, I guess the architect's done too, which is something. Alright, whatever. Okay, so that's it for the meta progression in terms of the expansion of the town. Everything is as good as it's going to be. Why are you back outside? Potion charm. Poison resistance. Indeed. Regardless, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us today. There will not be another episode, regardless of whether or not I find something to do a playthrough on long term. At least until there's a significant number of updates for the game that give it a lot more to do. This is going to be the last we see of Chirth the Girth and all. Now, as I said, I'm still working on finding something to record for long-term playthrough, but a bunch of stuff came out this week, so hopefully something goes in my favor, because it would suck to have to decide on something that I can simply play on my PC without too much issue. There aren't a lot of things that would work, so I don't know what to tell you, but I can only hope. And so, with all that said, we will see you next time.